actor chemistry, filming location, cinematography, costume design, music or score, and overall entertainment value. We're going to get into it.
All of them.
All of them.
What movie are we doing, though?
How about we do Ghostbusters Afterlife?
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one. I got to tell you, Tyler, it was so fun.
It was a fun film.
I'm not talking about the film.
Oh.
I'm talking about the experience.
Oh, yeah.
I went to the IMAX.
Nice.
I haven't been to the IMAX in a long, long time. I think the IMAX is overhyped, and the price was the same as a normal one. Today I went today.
Yeah.
And it was the same price, so I'm like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Right. And so it was a fun experience. Got the popcorn.
Yeah.
I love going to the movies. We talked a few weeks ago about just getting back into the movies again, right, from the pandemic. And it is. It's great. Tell me about your experience.
Well, I went
Never mind, we don't want to know. No, I'm kidding. Go.
I don't know if I want to anymore. So I watched Venom in IMAX. That was the last one I've seen on the big screen. I've been going to Marcus in Rochester, and they have like a super deluxe screen where it's not quite the IMAX, but it's not your standard screen either. And for me, that's just like the sweet spot where
that's the chairs.
It's the chairs. They still have the recline and they have the heat. It's like it really is the middle ground between those two different theaters. Yeah. And so I told my wife, like, this is where we're going to watch all the movies now, is this theater right here, because I really enjoy it.
I got to say, too, the sound to me in that theater is better than in IMAX.
It's crazy. Yeah, you hear
the balance is better. And I'm a sound guy, too. So.
Yeah, and I noticed that, too. It's like the Dolby something. Yeah. I forget what it is. But, yeah, the sound... The surround sound, it really feels it, especially when it's first starting up. You can feel the vibrations, and like that's what you want in a theater, at least for me and my young ears that haven't gone completely deaf yet.
What are you trying to say? Huh? I can't hear you. What are you trying to say?
So that's when I went to for Ghostbusters, because I saw Eternals in that. I think that's just going to be my go-to theater if it's available. Last Duel, I had to be very select on that one, so I wasn't able to go to my dream theater.
Right.
But so that was my experience in it, and this is from September, probably August, September. This is probably the movie I've been looking forward to most. Just because the trailer was like hit me in the feels. I love Ghostbusters. I love Paul Rudd. I loved all the actors, and I was like, if they wanted to continue on with the Ghostbusters, they're setting this up right with the investment for the advertisement and just everything else. I was excited going to it. So
this is like the franchise is like revitalized.
It is.
I mean, I'm not sure they even had a franchise so much before. I mean, Ghostbusters 1 and 2 were kind of right next to each other, but it doesn't seem it seemed disconnected as a franchise,
right? Maybe
is a way to say it. And this seems to me they could go all kinds of directions with some of these characters.
It set up the universe.
Yeah, the universe. So, that's a good term.
Ghostbusters 1 and 2 were kind of standalone. They were in its own little spot, not really looking to expand much. I mean, they could if they wanted to, but they really felt like standalone. But this one, with all the different characters involved, really felt they could establish, like you said, the universe of what Ghostbusters could be.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Movies. The average person can be inspired by them. They can make us laugh. Movies can keep us on the edge of our seat, and so much more. Maddie's Movie Mix is a podcast for movie enthusiasts of all kinds. We hope you enjoy the show.
Wait. Matt Logan!
Yes, we both had the same problem. You.
Listen. You smell something?
Yippee-ki-yay. This is Tyler Peterson.
Should we do this episode with spoilers or just not spoil it at all?
Well, I think we'll have to give... Here's what I'll say. And if this is a spoiler, it's a spoiler. But this movie kind of reminded me of The Force Awakens, Star Wars movie.
Sure.
Where you have a lot of the same reoccurring characters. You have the main the storyline very similar, and then they brought back old characters and they kind of set it up where, you know, some of these characters aren't going to return for the future ones. And so that's how I felt watching this. It kind of, again, it was refreshing because they were able to bring a bunch of the nostalgic parts back. But I think if you compare the two, the storylines are very similar.
Why don't we do... you're right, they are. How about we do this? Why don't we basically transition in a minute or two here to the spoiler section of the podcast.
So we'll do like a first impressions.
Yeah.
And then we'll go deep into it.
Things that aren't going to be like spoilers would be like Paul Rudd is in the movie and he's the love interest of the mom.
And he dies at the end.
What?
Just kidding.
I was like, what movie did you go to?
It's like after I watched Avengers Endgame. It was technically Infinity War.
Okay.
And spoiler, half of everyone dies.
Right.
And so I'm like, oh yeah, everyone dies at the end of the film.
Yeah.
And so that's when I talk about into films. I always like saying, yep, everyone's dead.
Yeah,
There's no point.
They all died.
All is lost.
The ship sank. Titanic is at the bottom of the ocean. The mixture of the people that they had in here, I mean, we've seen the trailers. We know we know some of the cameos that they're doing basically in here, and some of that was fun. It's if you're on the fence at all about seeing this film, go do it.
Yeah. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, it's worth it. If you were never a Ghostbusters fan, go do it.
Even if you watch the Ghostbusters now, the graphics are hard to watch. This is a great one to start on because they smooth a lot of those things
dogs.
out. The dogs are still a little ridiculous in this one.
I think they did that on purpose.
Yeah, I think so too. There's no way they...
No, they could have done
a lot
much better job.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say, I think, did I have in my notes here? Okay, it's grossed 119 million worldwide so far, but for some reason, I didn't write down the budget.
75 million.
Okay, I thought I saw 75 million, so... Yeah, I mean, 75 million, they could have done a better job with the dogs, but...
Unless it was intentional, like you said, which there's a good chance.
I think so.
Because everything else looked pretty dang good when it came to the ghost. And
that was like a disconnected part of the film to me.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this doing here?
It threw me off.
Oh, yeah, the original.
That's right.
And now, a quick break. And it's not a Kit Kat, sorry. And now, back to the episode with your host, Matt Logan.
Homage, like tons of homage. Did I say that right?
Marshmallow
the
characters.
I mean, that's pretty fun. What else can we say that because that was in the trailer? So you take it away, and then let's get into it.
The director was Jason Reitman, who was the son of the original director Ivan Reitman, which I thought was pretty cool, keeping in the family line. Harold Ramis was actually still included in the writing credits, even though he passed away.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I wonder, did he actually have a hand in this film before he passed away? In other words, did they discuss certain things that they wrote out that might have made it into the film? Or
yeah, I think they were wanting to do another Ghostbusters film, specifically Dan Aykroyd. I think I read somewhere where he was really wanting to do a third one, but getting some of the characters back to do the third one was a little tricky. And so I'm pretty sure they had a decent storyline. Again, they could have just credited it to being very similar to Ghostbusters 1.
Okay.
But again, I'm not sure what it was, but I'm sure it was a mix of paying homage to Harold, who had a huge influence, obviously, in the originals. I mean, you even see that going on in this film. As a character, so
yeah,
I thought that was fun.
I want to give some spoilers away, but we have to wait. We said we'd wait.
The last one I'll say the last fun fact I had that doesn't spoil anything. This film, the reason they did a sequel was because of the financial failure of the remake from 2016.
You're kidding me.
So that prompted Sony to let's do a continuation of the originals rather than trying to reboot the series.
No kidding. That I did not read or hear.
Yeah. Which makes sense because the remake was awful.
I didn't see it. I had reliable sources say it was awful.
And those, I would double down with those reliable sources. I didn't make it through. I watched it with one of my friends in college, and I fell asleep halfway through.
Yeah.
And again, I think it was they were writing to be a Ghostbusters, and I think that was a whole different thing. But because of that failure is why they decided to do more of a continuation story rather than trying to reboot the series, which I think worked well for this film.
It knocked it out of the park, really. I mean, from that perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Harold Ramis, of course, passed away in 2014, I think February, if I remember right. They did do a really good job of honoring his memory, I thought. It was very moving and stuff on some parts of the film.
Right. So we might want to get into spoilers because his character is...
Let's move into it.
So if you haven't seen this film, this is your warning. We are going to go in.
We're going.
Spoiler territory is ahead.
We're going to jump off the deep end with our nose plugged, and we are going to spoil away.
That's right, with our snorkels.
Let's talk about the actor chemistry then. Because he's an actor.
He is an actor who, I guess, was CGI.
Yeah, that was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it at the beginning where it was more of these subtle tones. Again, talking about it being a universe, it would be interesting to go more in depth of how that works because Ghostbusters are typically these like weird creatures that aren't humans. At least that's my assumption. Yeah,
they're certainly lean on the more like evil side.
Yeah.
Like it's not, the ghosts are ghosts. They're,
that's right.
Not like
disconnected from humans.
Right. Not like spirit of a human or whatever. Like, I think they need to go deeper on that for sure in another film because I would like to know how they want to smooth that out.
Right.
Because
it's weird that it's the only one that this has been applied to.
Yeah.
So
did you like how he died?
Yeah. Well, kind of.
Well, right. It's kind of sad, but
yeah.
This reminds me of the time you tried to drill a hole through your head. Remember that?
I thought it was well done, and especially going into the rest of the film. His death, not to sound cliche, but set the pace for the rest of the film.
Totally.
Because obviously that's what brought the family back to the house. That's what brought, Peter and Ray and Winston back. Is because of his passing and the impact that he had and what his vision was like. This is still going on. This is still a critical need that we need to figure out while everyone else seemed to be living their lives as if Ghostbusters never really happened.
And then, but he's in the chair.
Yeah.
And the arms come out, right?
Yeah.
That's homage to the first Ghostbusters when Sigourney Weaver's character was, in the kitchen started glowing and she looked and then the multiple arms comes up out of the chair.
Yeah.
So that's a homage to that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was super cool.
Like that tied it together immediately.
It did.
Like this is legitimately a Ghostbusting film.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I'm terrible with the technical names of all their equipment, but the thing that actually holds the ghosts.
They just call it the trap.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the
nice and
the
technical.
Trap. Yeah, that one's easy. the proton packs and stuff you mean, but yeah, just the
So visually they set you up with the nostalgic and the ghosts, which I thought was a cool combo.
Yeah, and clearly the actor chemistry. I'm going to talk about that later. That thought I just had, we'll talk about later. But the acting chemistry
I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4.5. I thought I really liked Podcast's character. Yeah. There was so many just quirky characters in this film that I really enjoyed. So between Podcast and Phoebe being kind of the central was to me the central character of this film, that everything was kind of focusing around the relationships wise. Because you had Phoebe and Gruberson, played by Paul Rudd, them building kind of, a daughter-father relationship.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. The one interesting relationship that I didn't fully understand was Trevor's character and Lucky's character.
Yeah.
That seemed a little forced at times.
Yeah.
So I didn't really believe the chemistry that they had together.
Is that more spoilers because we're kind of in that section?
That's hey, we gave them full warning.
Full warning. You're right. So I think it's pretty interesting to me when you're looking at different things and how they write the scripts, and that they have kind of the main script, and then they have these other sub-writers to write more specific for high-level characters, right? And so when they come in and do that, I'm wondering if, because Trevor's character lied right away on his age, and he's trying to, and some of that kind of stuff, was that written in there that way so that it felt like it was more of a forced relationship?
Right.
Or not, you know what I mean? Or was it just the chemistry was terrible?
Yeah, and
it's hard.
That's hard to tell. And so typically when I do actor chemistry, it's really how I feel about the relationships between the characters, whether it's more focused. If it's the fault of the writing, like we talked about in June '84, where I had struggles, probably a lot of it being writing, but it's hard. It's for me hard to blame one thing over the other, so I just try to the characters that are all involved together. I get it. Yeah, it's more conversation than trying to sway your rating or anything. Yeah, absolutely. That was the one that I thought was interesting, but even the mom character Callie and Gruberson, I felt a spark between there. There's still room for growth, but they didn't have a lot of screen time, which made it hard to develop their relationship. So I think the story was trying to say it's progressing faster, but you're not able to see those pieces where it connects, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. It does.
But for the time that they had, I thought it was decent. But yeah, I really liked Phoebe's character and the relationship that she built or had with other people.
Yeah, and Phoebe, I agree. I think to me she was the main. I'm sure that was the whole intent anyway, I should say. But she was definitely the main character.
Yes,
right. She was
driving force.
If she didn't do a good job, this movie would be in trouble.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Because you think about what her character does, and if her character wasn't there, none of the storylines would have progressed.
Right. Exactly. So she is what? I looked up. She was born in 2006. I believe.
She was pretty young, but she's done a lot.
She has done a lot. I was really impressed. So Mckenna, I think was her name, wasn't it?
It was, Mckenna Grace.
Yeah. And so, but what an amazing job that she did at her young age. So I was super happy with that. I was a little bit worried when I saw the trailer. I'm like, there's this young, how is that going to all work and go together and things? But she really pulled it off. She hopefully keeps her center.
Yeah.
And so she doesn't become one of those weird child actors.
Right.
And she can really go somewhere. I'm really looking forward to that. So
yeah,
I did give it a 4.5 as well.
Yeah.
There wasn't much to criticize on it, really.
No.
Lucky and Trevor,
yeah,
for sure. But again, I don't know. It wasn't so bad that it ruined anything. Yeah.
But the relationship was believable enough where I'm like, all right, we can continue this on rather than like each scene they're in. I was like, this is
typical freaking teenagers.
Yeah, that's right. But there's sometimes where that chemistry doesn't work in any scene. You see them, you're like instantly like, well, this is be a terrible 2-3 minutes or however long this is going to. But whenever I saw them together, I was like, well, this is doable.
Yeah, exactly. The way they did the CGI too for I mean, let's just call him Harold Ramis.
Yeah.
Just because he is passed, but really well done. They didn't try to do his voice.
Which was great.
Yes. I was like, okay, I'm waiting for it, and I'm like, it's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
And they never did a voice.
Which was perfect.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
And, I mean, silence oftentimes goes so underappreciated in films where they try to force something in that just doesn't make sense, rather than if they were to leave it silent like they did in this movie. The emotions seem so much more raw and real because it's all about those subtle movements, those gestures that these characters are doing, that really makes you connect to the character more than you would if you heard their voices or any script could do.
Right. Because you knew anybody that knows anything about Ghostbusters knows that Harold Ramis had died.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of like, they're going to screw this up, right? You're waiting for it to be screwed up.
Yeah.
And they just didn't. It was great.
I think even looking at the original cast at the end scene where Harold's character was present, just you could see like just the emotion from, I think Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Ernie did a great job of expressing this is like true friend, this being like more flabbergasted than anything, like he is here with us right now, even though he's passed and everything else that goes with that.
Yeah, for sure. Filming locations.
I really liked it. It's based on a small town, Somerville, Oklahoma. So, what is Oklahoma considered? Is it Tornado Alley?
Yeah.
Is that what you would?
I think so.
It's south of Midwest, but I don't think is it considered? Whatever you want to call it, it's in that awkward position where, because it's north of Texas, so I guess it could be considered the South. It's south of Minnesota,
which is where we're from.
That's right. It's not hard to do that. But
no, right.
In Oklahoma, does have those mountains that would look similar to the ones present in the film, which I wasn't sure on. I was like, oh, this is Oklahoma, but they had those huge mountains right next to the Rockies, I would assume.
Yeah, I've been in a lot of places in Oklahoma, and I'm struggling with that one.
Have you been to Wichita Mountains?
Yeah, you could do it there. It's just not real common.
Okay.
That's not a real common part of Oklahoma, which is great.
My lack of experience makes me Google things, and Google never fails me.
Right.
So I was just Googling, does Oklahoma have mountain ranges? And so it brought me up to Wichita, and there was another one.
Yeah, no, you could pull it off for sure. It's believable.
Yeah.
It's not, my memory is not, it's not prevalent of that dramatic of, you know what I mean? Like, they're there, but they're not like that. That was like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Remember that? Did you ever see that? So that mountain area that really, like.
Okay.
Well, you've seen Lord of the Rings.
I have seen Lord of the Rings.
What was the name of that in the first one? Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring.
Are you talking about the one they go into with Gandalf?
No, the very first one that they come out, that Lookout one, where Elijah Wood's character gets stabbed with.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about now.
Mountainy, like you know.
It's a pinnacle, and there's not much around it, but you have the singular.
It's just, and that's kind of the way they made that one.
Yeah.
In Afterlife, and I don't know that's hard to believe. That's it's a butte, right?
Right.
What they call that, and that's I don't know, whatever. It is. It's probably exists.
It's Oklahoma,
but it's
man.
not right. It's just not. Anyway, keep going.
So based off my Googling, I thought it looked believable.
It's believable. It's just not
off
prevalent.
Of my experiences. Yeah. I liked how it was a small town feel. I liked the drive. Like, I don't know how believable it was for them to be able to drive the Ghostbusters car through the field like that without having to worry about bumps. Because when the car slid, it was a really smooth slide with not very many bumps. I'm like, for farmland, I don't know how believable this is, but it's a really cool scene, and I really enjoy it.
And I thought about that too. If they were actually like sod farm, pretty smooth.
That's true.
But that clearly wasn't a sod farm.
No.
So it's like, yeah.
The major issue with filming locations that I had an issue with was at Walmart. Walmart looked real. The building looked real. It was actually used from a closed down Walmart.
Okay.
Is where they got that building from. But it looked like, again, they filled the shelves, but nobody was there besides Gruberson, which made no sense to me.
There was the screams.
Yeah. But you don't see anybody.
Right.
So that's where I was a little confused. And the parking lot, completely empty.
Right.
So that was the one location where like, oh, the Walmart looks real. But again, I guess the location looked real. So I guess there's that. But the things surrounding it did not seem believable with my experiences at Walmart.
Small towns, Walmart, so I'll say, are a lot more vacant than what we're used to here.
That's true.
Yeah.
I gave it a 4.4 for the filming locations.
Okay.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought the dynamics were cool. Again, it's more of a sci-fi film, so I mean, it's still on Earth. And another factor, it's the only Ghostbusters set out of New York City, because 1 and 2 were based there, and the remake, whatever you want to call that. So it was the first one outside of New York, and I enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it too. I gave it a 4.1, and the big reason, I mean, we discussed a lot of it already, similar notes that what I had, with the exception I didn't notice the Walmart parking lot at all. But now that you say it, I think, like, oh yeah, that's right.
Clicks.
So, but 4.1 because I'm not buying the whole mine that they're talking about, and that was a hard one for me because there's no way that these. What would you even, the carvings and hieroglyphs, I guess, would be some of them, essentially, because there were some of them that had the little dogs or whatever, right? There was a few.
Demon dogs.
The demon dogs, yeah. And so to me, you would have, there's no way that wouldn't have all kinds of attention from, corporations at minimum.
Right.
And so I'm like, that one was a hard one for me. Yeah, the haunted mine or whatever, I'll buy into that all day. But to have right at the beginning of this mine, and they had this, what was it, closed down in 40 something or whatever it was.
I remember.
And and so it was like, boy, that's weird. All these sheets hanging up over it, and there's no way that wouldn't be like guarded in some way.
Yeah.
So that to me was a little bit off, but so that's why it was a 4.1, but still very cool.
Yeah.
Locations
I would
all
love
the way
to go
around.
back to it.
Yeah.
Cinematography.
How did the film look on
cinema? The screen.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go first on this one. There was a lot of brightness in this, and I did like that a lot.
Yep.
It felt a lot different than the other Ghostbusters.
It did.
And I did like that. I thought about that frequently. I'm like, wow, this is very different, and they're making this look very different.
Which is not a bad thing when you go to the originals.
Yes, exactly. And even in the darker, places, they did a really good job of being able to see the characters without it looking like they have a big freaking spotlight.
That's
on
right.
them. So I gave cinematography a 4.3 on this film. I should have probably given it a little bit higher, but there was the scene that didn't capture real well on some of the stunts with the car. Yeah, I thought it looked too blurry in some of that. Yeah. So I imagine for whatever reason that is, I don't know. I imagine they had to do some sort of CGI stuff for it.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm a little lower there.
Yeah, I gave it a 4.4. I really enjoy, like you said, the vibrant colors. You have the ectoblasters being this really bright red, and even the pit being the bright red, being able to light things up to seem natural, but you're also able to see the characters through that. And I like that even the ghosts, there weren't a ton of them in this movie. You basically have the demon dogs, Muncher, and Gozer. The marshmallows, I don't know what you want to call them.
I don't know either, I guess, but
they weren't visually they weren't conceived the same as these other guys.
Yes, correct.
So I kind of grouped them differently, but I liked, even Muncher was this not bright, but this blue that really stood out in all the scenes in contrast to the dark blacks when they were going through that factory. You could always kind of see his character, and then the reds. So I really enjoyed that contrast between the two. Harold's character staying continuation with those colors. I really enjoyed. So, and I liked the mountain when everything was like lightning and stuff like that. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
So, yeah, I gave it a 4.4.
Yeah. No, that makes sense totally. Costume design. Where you at?
I gave it a 4.3.
Okay.
I thought it was a good mix of the old and new. You got, the good orange dress. That came back.
That gave it a good solid half a point for me.
Yeah. And another thing, I looked at half a point.
Just an automatic additional half a point. I'm saying,
anytime you see a red dress in a film,
and it doesn't have to be a red dress, but
the
concept
helps.
Of the red dress,
yeah.
This is out of place. Here I am. Look,
yeah.
Did
you notice in the Walmart scene? And this is something I looked into again. That Gruberson's character had the tracksuit that in the original film. Is this? Who was the annoying character in the first film that I cannot remember?
Rick Moranis.
But what was his name? Do you remember?
No, I don't.
He had a tracksuit on in the
And
so in the Walmart scene, they did the same thing where Gruberson's character, who was meant to copy Rick Moranis' character, had a tracksuit.
Now that you say that,
which I thought was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah.
Wow,
again, this is where I struggle sometimes of it's fun to research a little bit beforehand, but you don't want to get too much information where then it's spoiled. So then this is one where it's kind of like I'm telling you, I was think back, oh yeah, that did match, which is really kind of cool. I also love the little marshmallow characters. And this isn't all in costume design, but they kind of reminded me of the Minions.
Yes.
Of where they're just killing themselves.
Yep.
And they're happy as can be.
Right.
Why are they killing themselves? Is this any relation besides that it's a marshmallow to the first film? Nope.
Yep.
Let's just walk over a grill and melt. Let's stick this one in a blender. Bzz, gone.
Yep.
And so
that was fun.
Oh my gosh. Made really no sense, but I just had a good time when I was watching that. So, my gosh, they could probably have a short film where all it is those marshmallows having a great old time in Walmart. I would watch 15, 20 minutes of them just going through the different departments, having a good old time.
Havoc. Costume design 4.6.
Okay.
And that orange dress.
That's right.
That did it.
It pops.
It does, and it's just so fun when they do things like that.
Yeah.
Like I really do enjoy that a lot personally, is when they just like, hey, everything's going, it's normal, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's something like, hey, here I am.
There I am.
And you just can't not look, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I like in costume, is where it's just like there's something in there that is that way. I will say though, and this really isn't costume design, but if they're gonna have a character similar to Slimer, have Slimer.
Yeah, I don't understand why they didn't.
I mean, there's
the other characters the other ghosts came back.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why they didn't bring Slimer
back. And like the zombie at the cafe.
Yeah.
That was like the taxi driver.
That's right.
In the
He
first
came
one,
back.
right? Yeah. I mean, it was a little different.
Marshmallow people came back.
Yeah. So if you're gonna do similar to Slimer,
just have Slimer.
He's
a classic character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand why. Excuse me. Why they did Munchie or whatever, because they needed him later.
Yep.
When they needed to get in,
Yeah.
Spoiler. They need to break into jail. So I get it. I mean, it was written that way, but at the same sense, Slimer should have. If you're gonna similar at all,
similar,
gotta have Slimer.
Yeah.
Score the score.
Score the score.
Do it.
I was really somewhat disappointed. I was hoping they would do more with the Ghostbusters theme.
There's something strange in your neighborhood. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters!
And so I think no matter how good it sounded, that really brought down some points to me. Like I said, they could have done some. I watched Justice League, which, that movie gets hate for better or for worse. But that movie was composed by Danny Elfman, and during some characters like Batman and Superman, he brought back the original, like the original Batman theme, da 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 da. And so, like, I just wish somewhere in this film that was more prominent, for better or for worse. Like, I just wish I would have heard do 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 do. Like, and they would have like lifted up the Ghostbusters, like when they found the car.
Yeah.
How like much more impactful would have been if they just did a simple nod to the original song. So I gave it 3.5.
Oh wow.
Oh my gosh. I think that threw me. I think if I were to listen to it again and just taking the context, I was really hoping that would be there, and it wasn't.
Sure. So you are allowing your feelings to.
I'm an emotional man sometimes.
Yeah, no,
I have
get
needs.
No, I get it.
Just give me the Ghostbusters theme.
And I'm gonna say the same thing that I've said before: is I had to take this movie and set it apart from any of the others, any of that, and so when I was super disappointed with that as well, but then I was thinking through it, and I'm like, okay, but maybe, you know, there's got to be a reason why.
Yep.
They didn't just, oh, whoops, we forgot.
And they did end with it.
They did, and so I'm wondering, is there like some copyright issues where they can't play it too much, or are there, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, is there whatevers?
Yeah.
But one of the big things I think to me is, okay, I'm sitting there in the theater, and I'm there's parts of it I'm like, I'm feeling like a little kid again watching the original.
Yeah.
And there's parts of it I'm like, oh yeah, this is great that they're going to transition this into a whole universe, as you put it. I love that.
Yeah.
So I think there might have been part of that.
Right.
Like, hey, we need to transition out of this old like Ghostbusters theme.
Yeah.
Let's throw it in at the end just to make them kind of happy.
Well, if that's the idea, you don't end on nostalgia like that.
Yeah, I think you do. and I the reason why is that my age and older we were kids, right, and teenagers and different things, and so it's like, all right, you got me, you know.
And the end credit scene,
yeah,
that was a throwback.
Yes,
which I thought was fun.
That was really fun.
Yeah,
that was actually really fun. So I gave it a 4.3.
Okay,
because I really enjoyed, other than the disappointment.
Yeah,
I really did enjoy what they did with the different scenes. The beginning scene, this is where I wanted to talk about it, where Spangler's character does die.
Yep.
But he's being chased by an invisible, clearly.
Yeah.
But this ghost can still manipulate the things around.
Yeah.
Right. Like.
He still has a presence.
Yeah.
You see his footsteps and
footsteps,
stuff like
and then smashes into the truck that gets it off into some of that kind of stuff. So the music there at the beginning, I was like, I'm in, right? And so there was some of those scenes that I thought the music was really good. But overall entertainment.
Do you want to go?
I'm going. I just got to say it's a 4.7.
Yep.
Super entertained by this movie.
So much fun.
All the way around. I'm like, I only fell asleep 3 or 4 times. Just kidding.
That is record low.
No, I just was very engaged the whole time. It is getting harder and harder to engage people, and I get that.
Yep.
But I think they did a really good job of balancing the length of when they were telling a story, when they were trying to get different points across and bring in everything, but it wasn't too long and not too short.
Yeah.
So that's pretty entertaining to me. Is where that's a good balance. So that's where I was at.
Yeah, I gave it a 4.6. Again, it really reminded me of Force Awakens, and I really enjoyed that film for the sense of like it's hitting the feels, and it knows that it's just going to hit you in the feels for the nostalgia. And so just from growing up with Ghostbusters and being able to catch those references where they're still respecting the old characters, what the franchise was built off, but then again also creating, again, the storyline was almost exactly the same, but they're building these characters to be able to go off in different ways of like, well, it's not just in New York, it's in Oklahoma, so like let's really expand this and see where this can go and how this is going to impact everyone else now that this has happened here.
Right.
So
and as part of that entertainment, I thought J.K. Simmons, he what was the name of that character? Do you have it in front of you by chance?
I don't.
Ivo Shandor.
Okay.
And that was in the original because he's the architect and built that skyscraper.
Oh, right.
That was in the first one.
Yeah.
And so he only delivers one line.
Yeah.
And when he's laying there in the coffin, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, no way. That is awesome.
That's right.
They got J.K. Simmons to do this, even though he's in it for like seconds, basically. And he delivers the line and
gets ripped in half.
He gets ripped right in half. It's really good. So things like that are very entertaining.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What's your overall rating?
4.5.
4.5, huh? I have a 4.4 is where I fell at.
That's where it fell. Yeah, I'm excited where it's headed for what it could head towards for future installments.
Well, with $119 million, I think that they've got a pretty good chance of continuing on.
Yeah.
I don't know if it made up for, you said 2016's.
It's making a profit.
Yeah. I wonder where that one, we should look that up someday.
Yeah.
That would be fun. What do you think? Go see it.
Who are you going to call?
The theater for tickets.
Oh.
In Ghostbusters.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so I'll see you later, huh? I'll give you a call.
So it's done.
It's done.